Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Adventures in Truth livecast. My name is Jim Case. I am your host. Excited to be here, excited that you're here. And before we dive in, I would really love to encourage you wherever you are as you're taking in the show. If you're on Facebook, please like and share this live window. Let people know we're here. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. If you're watching on E360 TV, thank you. You can watch that on the app or you can watch it at e360tv.com. And you can also go to my website and watch live from the website at adventuresintruth.com. So lots of ways that you can participate. Thank you for being here and participating. I greatly appreciate your interest and attention to the show. Today, we're going to have a great show. We're going to talk about the conundrum of growth. And I know that sounds like an interesting phrase, but here's how it unfolds to me. The conundrum of growth is because growth, and we'll get into the definition of stuff about that, but growth is about becoming more, right? It's about becoming more of who we are. And we tend to resist, as a human species, we tend to resist growth because growth means change. And we tend to resist change because we fear change, because we have been trained to fear the unknown. We've been trained to fear what we don't understand or don't know. And so as a part of this process, this conundrum is unraveling that, the lack of necessity for the fear, but more importantly, is stepping into what growth is about, stepping into that powerful, powerful experience that we are all going through all the time anyway. So why not find some alignment in it? Why not find some clarity in knowing that we are evolving and growing, and then allowing for that and creating this kind of fertile environment for that growth to continue. So what do you think? This has been a great show. Thank you very much. I hope no, I'm just teasing. I appreciate you guys very much. We're going to dive into this in earnest in just a moment, and we'll be right back right after this. All right, www.fearisachoicebook.com. Get your copy today. Thank you for those that have ordered, and I appreciate all of you who are giving me feedback, letting me know how much this book is impacting your life, and it's extraordinary and wonderful and deeply appreciated. And the intention of the book, it's really quite validating when you hope that the message that you're writing about or that you're conveying is being received and that people are being able to experience the change that you feel and see as you go through this. But Fear is a Choice book. It's a powerful tool to help shift that relationship with fear. And as we started about in the intro, talking about how our fear of the unknown, our entrained fear of the unknown, has put us in a position where we don't get to experience as much as we possibly could. We don't get to share or indulge or relish in the growth that is occurring for us in our world because we're too busy being afraid of what might happen. And I don't say that as a way of creating a fear-mongering situation. I just created, in my experience in working with people and observing people, this is a kind of consistent experience. So Fear is a Choice book. The great thing about this book is, one, we're on the anniversary of the publication of the book. So I'm very excited about that. 1 year. You guys have made this amazing and continue to make it amazing, and I appreciate it as we talk more about this book. So just encapsulating this idea here is change the relationship with fear, and you open up to potential and opportunities that you didn't even know existed. Because when you live in that fear bubble, you restrict what you can see, what you can experience. You dumb down your human experience. This book will take you through in a very powerful way into the experience that you have and help you to unravel some of the things that are going on and how your relationship is built with fear. And that's the magic of this book, is that you can, in reading it, you can begin to explore your own interior in a very safe, very powerful way that shows it to you in a way that is not about threatening or is not about a fear-based revelation, because none of it should be. So www.fearsthechoicebook.com. Check it out. Thank you for all of you that have ordered. On the website, there are links for Barnes & Noble, Amazon, IndieBound. There's reviews, there's videos, there's all kinds of great information. And you can also reach out to me there if you have questions or comments about the book. So thank you guys very much, and we'll be back right after this. All right. My world is good. My world is good. My world is good. My world is good. How is your world? Join me in this amazing movement, guys. Now we're in 10 months into this movement, and condensed, it's really simple. We are 7.5 to 8 billion unique worlds inhabiting this planet called Earth. And the reason that I call each of us worlds is because we are who creates our world. We are who creates our reality. Nobody can live my life for me. Nobody can make choices for my life for me without my consent, without my agreement, somehow, some way, some shape, some form. So as we move through the world, I wanted to find a way to create some positive change in the mass consciousness. The mass consciousness being this energy that surrounds the planet, that is just all of the agreed upon stuff that we have over time, and millions and billions of people thinking, just this band of consensus, as it were. And what I want to do is change that energy, because it's become so filled with the negative experience in the humanity that I wanted to create something positive. I want to see the goodness in who we are. I want us all to experience the depth of the goodness of who we are. And that's what My World is Good is about. It's about this neutral, positive statement that you bring into your experience, that you feel into, that you set yourself up into a space of appreciation and feel into this. My world is good. My world is good. And as you do, you begin penetrating, you begin exuding the energy of goodness into your world. You begin to put that energy out into your space, even if you're not real clear where it is yet. You still put that goodness out there, and you put your connection to that goodness. So what happens? Well, our thoughts and feelings are all a feedback loop. So as we put that energy out into the world, then it comes back to us and shows us where we are in relation to that vibration, where we are in relation to completely embracing that idea. And so some things may come up that show you what's in the way of your goodness. And those aren't meant to scare you or freak you out. They're there because you now have an opportunity to change them. You have an opportunity because they've become conscious, and you now have the ability to shift that. And that's extraordinary to me. And that's why My World is Good, because My World is Good continually fills my space with that goodness, so that my perception loop begins to see that on a regular basis, because I'm feeling the goodness. Therefore, I'm experiencing the goodness. Build that in your world, even a little bit a day. But if you do 10 times when you wake in the morning, 10 times at the end of the day, and then use it to help maintain that alignment throughout the day. So as you're at work, or you're doing whatever you're doing with the spouse or with the dog or with the kids or by yourself or whatever, if you find yourself wavering in your alignment, simply get quiet, focus into appreciation, feel into the statement, my world is good, and shift your vibration right then, right there. Spin it up, get it moving in the direction you want to. I thank you for all of you who have joined us. I thank you for all of you who are participating in making this a powerful, powerful change in our world. Because the more of us that do this, the more we create a powerful tipping point in our world, where we begin to see more goodness than we see other. And we begin to contribute energetically into that goodness, which continues to expand that goodness. So My World is Good. My world is good. Thank you for being part of it. And we'll be back right after this. gracious. All right, we are back. I'm talking to myself because me and finding my buttons sometimes. So the conundrum of growth, we talked about a little bit at the beginning. Three, kind of a simple staged process, right? The conundrum is we tend to resist growth because it's going to require change. And then the idea of resisting change ends up being about fear, ends up being afraid of what we don't know, afraid of what we don't have experience with. So let's blow some holes in this conundrum, in this illusion about growth. Because growth as it's defined, right? If we look at the definition, a stage or condition of in increasing, developing, or maturing. I find that fascinating. I find it amazing because it speaks to getting bigger. And really, isn't that what we are trying to do our entire lives? We want to be bigger than the situation that we are that we may be in that feels like it's beating us down, or we want to feel bigger than in the sense that we want to show up better. We want to show up more. We want to show up as authentically as we can. And so these stages of growth, this idea of growth to me is it's never ending. It's always happening. Our cells are changing on the second to second basis. We are in an evolutionary process every moment that we breathe on this planet and beyond. So growth doesn't need to be a conundrum because growth is already happening every moment of every day. The question is, how do we shift our attention within it so that we don't resist it, so that we don't get into thinking we're going to become somebody else or thinking that we're going to lose the parts of ourselves that we really love or really find um, are beneficial in the world for us. Because, see, growth and change and evolution is what we've talked about all along. It's this transcending and including concept, right? You don't become someone different in transformation. You become more of who you are, and you surrender the things that don't support the more of who you are. So there may be aspects of your personality that will change, of course, because as you move through the thresholds of change and growth, you begin to have a broader vision. You begin to see and experience more as your vibration increases. As you grow as a being, you expand. That's what growth is. You expand into these new experiences. Well, rather than standing at the threshold of new experiences, being afraid of them, stand in these new experiences, come into it in a space of love, come into it in a space of joy, come into it in a space of anticipation, knowing that what's going to change is what's not serving you. Remember, we've talked a lot about this over time that if you think in terms of law of attraction or whatever it is, you put a desire out in the world, right? You have something in your heart, you have you want to be, you want to experience, you want to feel, you want to have an experience of something. So you have this desire. And this desire, if you focus in it correctly, if you focus into the feeling of it. So why do I want this? Because of the way it's going to make me, that I think it's going to make me feel. I'm going to start feeling that now. I'm going to start feeling that feeling because I can. And I may have a desire that's out into the future, but I'm feeling it now. So what's happening is as I generate that energy, my vibration, wherever it is, and the relationship of the vibration that I'm attempting to create, there could be a little discord there because the practice vibration may not be as powerful yet as the desire that you're creating. But in creating that, in being in the space of that, in being in the feeling of that, what happens is that you generate this energy and momentum toward where you want to go, and you stay in that, and the growth that occurs every moment is the changing of your vibration to match the desire you seek out here somewhere. Did you follow that? It's the desire. So you create this it's almost like a trail of breadcrumbs, but it's even more broad than that because it's not necessarily a hunt and peck mission. It's a consciousness mission. It's a mission of developing what I'm going to call a fertile space. And we're going to talk about that more. I want to get into that idea of the fertile space, but we're going to talk about that more after we focus for a minute. Because now that I'm all juiced up and now that we got this energy going, I want to pull us all together into this energy so that we can all focus into this concept and really drive it home and bring a clarity to it that I hope will help you change your relationship with fear today. So bear with me, stay with me here. We're just going to shift gears just a moment. We're going to go into a moment of focus. And this is an important aspect of the show to me because this is where the rubber meets the road, where I put my money where my mouth is. I believe in a daily practice, and it's essential to consciousness. It's essential to navigating how we move through this world. And so I ask you now to just take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And as you do, feeling into your body, right? Settling into this experience as you breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Settling into the body, feeling your connection, feeling your alignment, wherever it is and whatever it is. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And now bringing that consciousness right into the center of your chest. If you take your middle finger and just gently feel around into your breastbone, right into the center of your chest, you'll feel a small divot, be one on one side or the other, just a slight little divot. Just touch that space. You don't have to dig into it. Just stimulate it, right? There's a piezoelectric response that happens in the body. The collagen in the body conducts electricity. We are all energy. It conducts energy. So as you touch particular points on your body, as you merge into those points, it creates a response in the energy. It creates a response in your field. As you stimulate gently that energy, it begins to open it up, right? So in through the nose and out through the mouth. And now I want you to bring all of your awareness to that point that you have placed on the center of your heart, which is the center of your lungs, where your heart is. Just bring all of your awareness to that space in your body and just be in the space of your heart as you continue to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And as you continue to settle in, be aware that as you settle into the heart, you become more of the observer. You become the observer. You begin and are able to, from the center of the heart, to observe all that's happening in the field of your experience, in the field of your energy. And as you're breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, become aware of your field. That is your energy. That is all that you are. And focus deeply into that heart space. Just let yourself be informed by it. See it, how it shows up for you. Maybe you see it visually. Maybe you feel it. Maybe you experience it. Maybe there's any number of untold ways that you can experience your field. Let yourself have that experience now. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, feeling deeply into that experience. And as you do connect to that greater part of yourself, which is lodged in the center of your heart, feel the magnificence, experience the magnificence of this incredible field of energy that is you, that expands outside of this body, that goes on for probably further than you can actually see with your physical eyes. But use that internal vision and see how magnificent your energy is. And now I want you to consciously, as you're breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, continuing, I want you to consciously bring that field into your body. I want you to call that energy in. Feel it as it loads into your heart. Feel the intensity and the pressure of that building. Feel the warmth and the tingling as that energy comes in, as you focus and harness the incredible nature of who you are, right into the center of your heart. And what we're going to do as you breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth is just allow that energy to explore the inside of this incredible physical vessel that we have to carry us through this time and space reality. Let your energy get intimate, consciously intimate. It's already intimate with the physicality. You have systems upon systems upon systems that are working every day without your attention, that are working in harmony every single day and looking to find and maintain balance. I want you to become conscious of that process. Become conscious of the extraordinary things that are happening in this physical body right now that enable you to be here hearing my voice, that enable you to tap into what this experience is as you continue to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And as you do that exploration, staying deeply connected, Let the energy roam around. Let it explore. Let it heal. Let it open up areas of your being that maybe are not feeling as open as they could be. Just breathing into it, in through the nose and out through the mouth, brings space and clarity. Let yourself have that space and clarity. And as you do continue to focus deeply inside, we're going to take our focus completely to the breath now. Sitting in the throne of your heart, focusing into the breath. I want you to inhale to a count of 4, and then we're going to rest in that fullness for a few moments, and then we're going to surrender that breath to a count of 6. So we purge all the old energy and air out of the lungs and release it. And then we rest in the emptiness. We rest in the void, in anticipation, in preparation for that next moment when we engage the lungs and take in that air, take in that life force, that chi, that prana. And so join me now as we begin with an inhale. We're going to inhale 2, 3, 4. Feel that fullness. Relax the shoulders and neck. Feel the power of all that amazing life force filling and stimulating your body. And then release it, expending 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As you rest now in the emptiness, feel completely drained. Feel the void. Feel the absence of all of that energy that you've just dissipated. And now consciously choose as you inhale and take in new life force, inhaling 2, 3, 4. You're doing beautifully. Now rest and relax in that fullness. Relish it. Appreciate the fullness and the experience of that fullness. And now consciously choose to surrender it. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Fantastic. And waiting, and let yourself rest in the emptiness. Feel comfortable in the void, in the not know space. Be comfortable in what not know is. It's not harmful. It's just not know. As you inhale and engage, taking in new energy and life, 2, 3, 4. Feel the magnificence of that as you feel the fullness and you feel the tingling of all that energy moving through you. And then choosing to surrender it in this moment, letting it go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Beautiful. And now relax in the void. Completely relax the body as you sit with nothing, as you anticipate, as you prepare the space to engage the lungs and take in again as you inhale. And continue this cycle on your own, still connected to my voice. As you inhale to that count of 4, feeling that fullness, feeling the breath in 360 degrees. Feel that expansion in every direction in your body, on every level of your being. As you embrace it, feel the magnificence of every new moment of life that you create by taking a breath. It is a moment of creation. Every breath you take, you are creating because you are bringing in new energy and you are surrendering old energy. And you do it so many times a day naturally. And as you become conscious of this process, the beauty of it is that you then embrace this cycle. You embrace this beautiful cycle of creation. And you learn how to manage energy, because in managing the breath, you are managing life force. You are helping the process of being conscious. Be with that, open to that, expand into that, grow to that. Feel your growth. Feel your growth. It's a powerful thing when you can allow yourself to feel your growth. And continuing in this, take these words, let them wash over you, let them feel into these words, take them if they work for you. I am the evolution of God realized as matter. I inform and guide that expression as the pure expression of God. I show up as God. I connect as God. I align as God. I am creation realized, and from that I create, I expand, I engage. I am. Beautiful. Just feel into that. And as you do, as you have that focus now, I want you to release the energy that you've called in. Let the field expand back out and just observe all of that radiant, glorious energy as it expands further and further and further from your field of vision in 360 degrees on all dimensions. Feel the power of who you are in this moment. Feel the energy of who you are and bring your awareness back into the room, back into this space as we continue this amazing conversation about growth. We have so many levels of growth happening in the world, but everything around us in growth. I was on a thought storm, which is an amazing process of breaking down structures of thought and looking for how we break those structures down to create newness, to create a new perception. And there's so many things in the world, and it's very similar to the show in the sense that I'm taking concepts that we have had a certain viewpoint of and looking for how we can see them differently. That's not tied to fear, that's not tied to limitation. And so in this thought form, it was really amazing to talk about this whole idea of growth. And when it really hit me, the growth is this, what we were talking about before, a stage or condition of increasing, developing, and maturing. What an extraordinary thing that this is going on all the time in our experience, and that we're constantly called to be more of who we are, constantly called to be moved forward. And so what this stimulated in me in this conversation was an interesting couple of interesting thoughts, because it really ran down for me. It went to a place of, I got into this whole idea. We got to talking about gardens and about gardening and about fertility and about cultivation and all these amazing words that have such powerful impact on our psyche. When we cultivate an energy, when we cultivate a response, when we cultivate a desire, it's this feeling of investing, right? It's this feeling of I'm I'm cultivating. I'm doing the steps. I'm doing the things I need to do to generate an energy, to begin to generate excuse me, momentum in growth, generating, because I'm cultivating. I'm giving it energy. I'm giving it life. I'm giving it attention, right? And so the thing that struck me so powerfully about this idea in line with growth was how it affects what I perceive to be a what we call our my goodness, my words have gone crazy on me this morning. Um, the idea of hello, we live. I can't find the words. Anyway, let's change tracks. We'll come back in another direction. So, cultivating, gardening. Here we go. Generating this fertility and making a fertile space. Let's look at it as a fertile space. And so if you want something, if you want to grow a garden, if you want to begin to grow a garden, first you have to decide where you're going to grow this garden, right? So you decide the space, then you have to determine what is this landscape? Is the land that's here, is the space that's here fertile? I'm a human. I want to grow into a new experience. I want to become more. Am I preparing my space for that? Have I picked the spot? Have I looked at what's there and begin to turn the earth, begin to cultivate the earth as a way of creating a fertile environment? And so I begin to learn about the thing. I begin to explore it. I begin to have ideas and thoughts about it. I begin to dig my shovel in and get my hoe and my rake in there, and I'm turning and I'm looking at it, and sometimes it's rich and wonderful and delightful and fabulous medium for growth. And so then we take the next step in this growth process and we say, okay, I've created this fertile bed, and I'm planting my bulbs and my seeds, or my ideas and my thoughts and now I'm going to continue to work on the fertility of this space, right? And this is where I think it gets really important, is we take this to a new level when we focus in creating a fertile environment. So how do we do that? What does that mean to create a fertile environment? Well, to me, it's attending to all of this, not in resistance to, not in fear of, but in anticipation of, because I am working the land, I am tilling the soil, I am checking that all of the components, to the best of my ability, are set up for growth, are set up for continuous growth. So If I'm simply there attending to the nutrients in this physical environment, then I'm creating an amazing space for growth. And so then if I attend to it, then what's happening is, as over time, and as I'm feeding, as I'm doing my meditation, as I'm doing my walks, as I'm doing whatever it is I'm doing that's continuing to feed this space, I can then observe what's happening and I can say, oh, look, some weeds are starting to come up. Let's see what that needs to happen there. Do I need to attend to them? Do I just need to pluck them early so that they're not going to be in the way of the growth that's coming? Or do I just observe and let's see what happens with these weeds that may be showing up? Because we're calling them weeds, but do we know what they are in context? Are they supportive of the environment that we've created, or are they attempting to take something away from the environment we created? Part of that fertility and that cultivation is having the interest in and the desire to explore and understand that within the context of your own garden. Are you following me here? I know this is a fun analogy, but I hope you're following me. Thank you, Miss Jackie. I appreciate your support. You know, when the thought drops off in the middle, you got to go somewhere else. so, so here we go. Again, where am I at? So, fertility focused or outcome focused? This is an interesting question because what I realized is the duality. Haha, I found it. There's my thread. The duality. I see duality, and maybe it's true of how duality is observed, but for me, I have a kind of a distinct viewpoint of it in my own experience. And that is that we live duality every day. And that duality is ego and soul. And that the ego is, as we've talked about before, the ego is the consciousness that comes with the physical body. It's the warranty package, right? It's the consciousness that manages and keeps the body on the planet. This body is so programmed for life that its connection to life is so powerful that separating it from life is extraordinarily difficult. So we feel into this duality. This ego is here to run the body. We've given the ego too much responsibility, and we can get into that on a little bit later here. But giving it too much responsibility, meaning giving it beyond its pay grade, making it responsible for things that it has no responsibility for, but attempts to do that in its own way, right? And it does that through various experiences that we've all had. So whenever you're having an experience, you're fighting with another person, you're having a challenge at work, you're having a challenge at home, you're trying to solve a problem, the mind is going back into the warehouse of the subconscious to feed you information about all the similar energies that you've experienced along those same lines. Well, if you've not been taking steps and expanding your energy, then what it's going to give you is a lot of story and a lot of stuff that it makes up based on the associations it makes in your consciousness. So that consciousness is one way of focus. And that to me is an outcome focused. And why do I say that? Because the ego has an agenda, and that agenda is to keep you safe. That agenda is to keep you on the planet. So sameness equals safety. But in the context of how we've set up this world and what we've been entrained to, we're supposed to set a goal and we're supposed to go for that goal and we're supposed to figure out how it happens and we're supposed to take the steps. And we do all these things that are outcome focused. And then we get mired in the hows. We get mired in all of the details about and get hyper focused in this little tiny outcome that we want to see happen, whether it's a thing or a feeling or whatever. But it becomes very outcome focused and very narrowly visioned. Fertility focused, on the other hand, to me is the opposite side of the duality. That is the soul's experience. That is that part of us that is here, present, never judging, never assessing, never pushing its agenda, never forcing anything. It is allowing everything, even to the point that it allows us to put the ego at center stage and to allow that ego to run the show while the soul holds the space for that experience. So you can see from my perspective here with this duality that you want to be focused into this fertility focus and not the outcome focused. And why do I say that? Well, to me, it seems kind of obvious, right? If you're focused into cultivating, if you're focused into fertility, then you're constantly in attention to now. You're constantly in attention to what's occurring now in your reality, and you are actively fertilizing the ground in your space of now. So, again, as we talked about before, you're observing what's happening in now, and you're observing what's happening in your garden, and you allow for all of it. You hold the space for it to continue, and you are at the ready to involve yourself as it calls something forth from you. That relationship is no different than the greater relationship you have with the universe, with God. So, fertility focused is saying, I am in the space of constantly or continually just being connected to the ground that is stimulating my growth. And I am focused in that stimulation. And because I'm always growing and changing, I don't necessarily have to put a lot of attention on the details of that growth and change. And I can when I've attended to it in fertility because I'm not threatened or frustrated or concerned about it. I'm noticing what it is and I'm stepping into it in a way that is I am not at the effect of. I recognize that I am creating this, but I also recognize I can do something different. And that something different is not focusing into the hows, not focusing into the outcomes. We tend to sometimes live in a little bit of a vacuum, I think, because we assume that if we don't constantly hammer the outcome, that we're somehow not going to be attentive to it, that we're somehow not going to get there from here. But remember, everything we choose is because we think we're going to feel better for choosing it. So know that once you have that desire, feel it. Once you have that desire, feel into it, get into fertilizing the ground of it so that it has the opportunity to grow as fully and as powerfully into your experience as you can allow it. And know that over time, that's going to change radically as you become more comfortable, as you release fear, as you change your relationship with fear, as you surrender more deeply into this understanding, it becomes much more powerful and it becomes much more sustainable. Just like any muscle you're developing, if you're going to focus into the garden, remember, how many of you started a garden before? I'm sure a lot of us have started gardens before. Everybody has a different approach. You go read a book, you go look at a book, you watch a TV show. Maybe you were inspired because you were watching something on TLC that just blew your mind and you wanted to go build a garden. And the idea of having fresh fruits and vegetables or fresh vegetables is just like, wow, what a great idea. And you're inspired to this idea. So now what happens next? Well, what happens next is that you go through a process of growth because from the place that you are, there's lots you don't know. From the place of inspiration, there's lots you need to learn, lots that you want to understand about to create the successful garden. So you're going to start reaching out into those things and exploring those things. And it's going to be multidimensional because you may be reading books about how to do this while you're digging the soil. You may be watching a program over here about how to do this while you're designing the design of your garden. See, there's multidimensional things going on. All of it is growth. All of it is steps in growth. That's why the conundrum is so wild because you are the only one who steps in the middle of your growth process. You are the only one. When you decide that you can no longer focus into fertility and you go to outcome, you have now created resistance in your process. You've created the need for you to control the process and have now released a ton of potential and opportunity because you are restricting the flow of energy into the space by your need to control it. Where in fertility, you have an area that you are tilling, that you are working, that you are attending to. And you can continue to expand that area, and the garden can become bigger and bigger as you become more skilled and more clear on the process of your garden growing. And so the magic of the growth is understanding that it's always happening. It's happening while you're sitting here talking or listening to my voice right now. You are growing right now. Not necessarily because of the words that are being said, but that I don't have any attachment to how that happens. Do you understand? There's no attachment on my end to how you utilize or receive this information. All I can do is provide, and hopefully it plants seeds that you can cultivate in your garden. Or maybe better yet, I'm offering you some seeds for some amazing vegetables or some amazing fruit that you can plant in your own garden and begin to fertilize, cultivate, and grow. And that's already happening by virtue of the fact that there's a seed, by virtue of the fact that I can hand it to you. It's already happening. I had to go through a process of growth at some point to be able to offer the seed, to be able to recognize the seed, to be able to recognize the value of the seed. Do you understand? It's so profoundly simple and yet so profoundly mind-blowing that when you consider that growth is always happening, and that when you change your relationship with fear, when you recognize that the change that comes from growth is simply you stepping into a greater form of you. You are not stepping into a greater form of Sue or a greater form of Paul or a greater form of Joe. You are stepping into the greatest form of you. And then as you integrate that experience, you begin to become more. And as you become more, you expand that area out. Your garden grows. The ability for you to grow a garden expands. The size of your garden expands because you are no longer limiting yourself by an egoic focus that says this is the way. You trip down this pathway of spontaneity and inspiration and allow yourself to focus into how am I fertilizing this ground? And guys, this doesn't matter what you're focused on. Do you understand? It doesn't matter. You may not be an intensely spiritually focused person. It doesn't matter. The concept works regardless. It's just a question of between here and there, what has to change in order for you to come into complete alignment with it. But if your focus is in business, you can have a business focus and still live in this space because, again, fertilizing the ground in your business is about creating room for growth. You do not grow your business in the sense that it's organic. You have created through energy an organic process, an organic experience that you're giving four walls or you're giving however you're structuring it, and you're calling it a business. Because it's a business, because you're going to do something and somebody's going to give you money or somebody's going to give you something that you feel keeps you in balance, right? That helps keep you connected to all the things you want to connect to in your world. Even within that context, you can be either egoically focused or soul focused. And again, it's a choice of where you choose to bring your energy. If you bring love to the space of the thing that you are creating and you are getting fertile, you are being actively working on fertilizing that ground and supporting the ground in growing, then you become more conscious of your process. You become available to inspiration that you wouldn't have never had before, because you're not limiting your perception to something small and tiny. You're opening your perception to all the possibility so that you can step into it. And the cool thing is that the opportunities that show up, they may stretch you, they may take you to another place, but there's a joy in that because what you feel and recognize when they show up is the rightness of this thing that is showing up to guide me to the next place. And when you're not zeroed in on a specific outcome, meaning locked into this is the way, then you can allow for lots of ways to find satisfaction in what you're doing. And you begin to find out that a lot of times the things that we are inspired to are simply ways of getting us to focus in a particular area to create the most abundance and prosperity that we can in the moment of our lives, in the case of work. But in the case of other things, it's the same. As you focus into these things and they begin to expand, you open up to a world of potential and opportunity that our brains have no concept of. And so if you can stay in that space of that fertility focus, you allow these things to show up, and then you have choices into these new and amazing possibilities that never could have shown up before because you were not available to them. Do you see this cycle here? It's a bit spiral, right? Because as you experience it at one level, then as you become conscious, you fertilize, you cultivate, You're attending to your weeds in your garden. You're giving these plants space. You're not overwatering. You're tending to their needs. You begin to see growth. You begin even when you can't see it, growth is happening, because even under the ground, as that seed is germinating, as things are changing, there's life happening, there's change happening. We trust that process in the plant. We trust that process in the garden. Why don't we trust that process in ourselves? Why don't we give ourselves the same permission that we give ourselves if we're watching a garden grow? It's no different. You plant a seed, you attend to it, you fertilize it, you cultivate it, and you allow it to start to grow under the surface, because you need to integrate the experience. You need to have this experience from the inside out. So if you are letting the seed grow and you are experiencing that growth, you are from the beginning connected to the evolution of creation. You are from that moment connected to the evolution of creation. It is happening within you and around you all the time. I've said a lot. I'm going to take a moment here to take a pause and take a break. We're going to have a quick commercial break here, and then we'll be back right after this.
The Science of Transformation method. And I can't tell you the difference that it's made in my life.
This program is all about you coming into the greatest form of you. All right, y'all, www.thesciencetransformation.com. I would love to work with you. One of the amazing things about the science of transformation and what this program does is that it continually helps to reframe your experience. You know, humans have a strong tendency that when we experience something new, we tend to look back in history to understand the new experience. And part of this whole idea and this concept of growth is understanding that when you have a desire in now, when you desire it in now, it is coming from this space of now moving forward. It requires us to reframe our experience so that we don't into history to look for understanding, and we also don't cast so far into the future that we're not being present in now. And the science of transformation is all about helping to reframe, because as we begin to unravel these things that have held us back and these things that keep us tied to this relationship, to the relationship with fear that we have created, we struggle at times to surrender to let go of any preconceived notions. But we also tend to lack the skill at the beginning of being able to see in a forward moving direction, to be able to see into from a different perspective why this behavior may be happening. Because remember, we were talking about the spiral just before, and that spiral is a place that you come back to similar places up the spiral as you go, so that you can see from your own experience how you have changed energetically and vibrationally from where you were to where you are now that you are encountering this particular thing again. But anyway, thesciencetransformation.com. Check it out. My website has some great videos and some. You can contact me if you'd like to find out more about my free consultation to find out if this work is right for you. And also because I offer an introductory package, the first 2 sessions are for the price of one. And it gives you a chance to experience this powerful work in continuity, which I think is very important. So we'll be right back right after this, and we will continue on and finish up our conversation for the day. All right, so for the final segment of this conversation, I want to talk about feeling your growth. It sounds strange. And the purpose of it is like anything else. I talk about feeling into your life, feeling into your experience, energy up, energy down, right? When you're confronted with something, when you're stepping into something, feel your way into it. And if your energy spins up, then you can step in and go all the way. If your energy drops, then you need to stop and step back so that you can assess the situation, because there's something you don't know. There's more information you need about. There's more that you need to comprehend for this thing. And that may take a few seconds, it may take a few minutes, it may take a few moments, it may take a few lifetimes. It's all relative to your experience. So feel your growth. To me, this is about getting into that space of creating that fertile garden, getting into that space of in the soil, getting into that space of getting your hands in the dirt and feeling that amazing feeling of cultivating and beginning to see the fruits of your effort, right? That's feeling into your growth. It's not being intimidated or afraid of what you don't know. It's anticipating what you're going to learn. It's anticipating what's coming. Understanding that sometimes as we move through this process, you're going to encounter parts of ourselves that we're not comfortable with, or parts of ourselves that maybe are not our favorite parts, or parts that we've struggled with for a long time. And that's okay. The great thing about it is that when you are focused into that soul expression, when you're focused into building that fertile ground, your attention is to the cultivation, your attention is to this growth taking place. And as long as that continues to be your focus, then the things that need to be navigated will be navigated in a more natural way and not in a fightful way. Now, if there's something in your personality or in your being that's intense, it may take a little time to work that down. It may take a little time to open that up, and that's okay. You can continue to build the fertility of it, and sometimes it's going to feel uncomfortable when you become aware of this split, uh, the soul and the personality. You begin to observe them, and you can watch them do what they do, and yeah, you feel it, but you can still observe it. You can observe it and recognize why this change is so important, and then return your attention to fertilizing the ground, not beating yourself up about the thing, but fertilizing the ground so that all possibility exists. Those roots can go in any direction. That sprout can pop up into the sunshine and enlighten you in ways that you'd never experienced before. So I encourage you to, as I check my, okay, we're good. So feeling into your growth is all about connecting in a way. I'm trying to think of the best words here. It's connecting in this present moment to the growth of this present moment without a need to fix it, bend it, change it, mess with it, but to honor it in the moment of its happening. So, for instance, if you're watching your garden and you've planted plants and a sprout is just touching the top of the soil, right? It isn't even a plant that you could identify yet, but you can see it's coming up out of the soil. If you be with that and love that plant and be with that plant, you're nurturing it and you're encouraging it to come above the surface. But if you look at that plant and find it deficient, then you're going to try to water it some more. You're going to fertilize it some more. What's wrong with it? Why is it taking so long? You're going to use your impatience and you're going to use your ego to focus narrowly into this little plant and begin to focus all of this intensity at this plant about what it needs to do. And you're not giving it the space to be what it already is. You need it to be something else, which means that you have not fertilized your ground, which means that's not where your focus is. Again, quick change, easy, step back, take a deep breath, find out what you don't know. Wow, I didn't realize as I investigate, I didn't realize that that's how plants show themselves before they actually pop out of the earth. I can simply encourage that. I can simply support that. I can simply love that. I can simply align with that level of growth and give myself a break, give my ego a break, let myself be in this process of change and growth with ease and with flow, because that's really what it's about. The only lacking of ease and flow is when we've created energies that take a little more time and effort to break down. When we've built habits that have not served us for a very long time, it can take a little bit of time to undo some of that. But you don't have to hyper focus in that. You simply focus on the garden that you're creating. You focus into tilling that soil, not fighting with it, not spitting on it, not stamping on it, cultivating it, right? Being with the soil, being in the moment now. And I think that's a great place to bring this to a close today. As you feel into your growth, understand that the conundrum that I bring forth is understanding the duality of who we are, the ego and the soul, and then recognizing that we have been entrained to fear change. We've been entrained to that experience. And so when we change our relationship with fear, we can now focus into the cultivation and fertility of our growth and not into the mechanics of it. Because there doesn't need to be mechanics. If we are available to our growth process, if we are in this garden and we are tilling our garden, we will get growth. We will change. We will become. We are already doing it. So honor it, love it, and support it. Because the more you can do that, the faster you can change that relationship with fear. But the other part of it it's even more extraordinary is the amazing amount of potential you unleash in your world when you do that. The amazing amount of opportunity you unleash in your world when you do that. Because you've now opened doorways that were never available to you before. Because you've lost your resistance, you've surrendered the need for how, and you are now focused in cultivating. You're focused in the fertility process and allowing the rest of it to unfold. Because as you do, you will find your joy increases, your happiness increases, your peace increases, your love increases naturally as a result. Because as your various expressions burst through the soil, and as those plants begin to grow and become stronger, you become stronger, you become clearer, you become all that you choose to be because you allow for that to happen, not because you willed it or forced it to happen. And with that, we're going to call it a day. Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to chat with you today about the conundrum of growth. I appreciate you so much for being here. And we will see you next time on Adventures in Truth Livecast. Thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate you very much. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Adventures in Truth Livecast. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you'd like to learn more about Jim's book, Fear is a Choice, Unraveling the Illusion of Our Separation from Love, check it out at www.fearisachoicebook.com. Also check out Moments of Truth, a new offering from Adventures in Truth. If you'd like to work with Jim, check out www.thesciencetransformation.com to book a session. Tune in live every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time and every Friday, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Or look for our new releases and podcasts every Monday. Until next time, be well, and we'll see you again on Adventures in Truth Livecast.